Joining.
Here we go. We're gonna let everybody in. All right, here we go. Dave. We will see if Dave can work on video audio. Hey, hello everybody. Hi, Adrian. Oh my gosh, I have seen you a few times now. This is off to an excellent year. Ah, so Dave is working through some behind the scenes things at the moment, and so I do have some announcements. And then Adrian, while I have you here, you've had some monthly meetups. How are those going? That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're having a big turnout specifically for recreational pilots, but every first Sunday of the month, we like to call it Drone Church, where we engage the community and through fly-ins and educational events. But thank you for putting this together. I'm really excited to hear what Dave has to say. Thank you,
Yeah.
Desi.
Oh, I'm excited too. Okay, so I have a little bit of a sneak preview. So I'm super excited. And Dave is just such a wealth of knowledge. So we are having a little bit of technical difficulties. So he's going to log back in and we're going to work through that. And then somebody has already asked questions about where is the drone church on Sundays?
So it's in North Texas. We try to move around the state of Texas, but generally in the downtown Dallas area, it's a beautiful skyline, and we want to make sure we get a visually pleasing location for our fly-in. So yeah, if you're ever in the North Texas region, look me up. Just follow us at AUVSI Lone Star or the North Texas Drone Users Group.
Love it. Love it. How fun. So, is it different locations all the time or always the same?
We move it around. Texas can be a big state, so we try to accommodate our folks in Dallas, Fort Worth. Sometimes we'll go to Houston, Austin, San Antonio. So it depends. Obviously, the weather is a big factor, but we try to engage as much as we can.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I'm going to be there for one of them. I just know. I'm going to make it on my calendar and make it there.
We're trying to organize one in San Diego for Exponential this year, Desi. I know there's a park. The airspace is a little complicated, but I think we found a solution. So anticipate if you're attending Exponential this year, we're definitely going to try to organize a fly-in. And Desi, we hope you can help with that.
Oh, definitely. Count me in. I already had my brain exploding with, oh, I know where. We can do. Awesome. So awesome. And the drone pros want to help out as well. So we just had a meeting on that as well. I have so many announcements to make. Speaking of drone pros, I am going to go ahead and get started with that. And then we're still waiting. Sheila's here with me, and she is going to help with the behind the scenes. And we're going to hope to get Dave logged in here. He's now said, I'm going to have to reboot the whole computer. So we're going with that method now. Everybody else is here, so we should be running good here. So let me make a couple of announcements really quick like, and I will post this in there as well. But first of all, I want to thank once again the Professor Drones. They design, develop, audit, and teach all about hazmat pipelines and all AI drone tech related things. So they are sponsoring our coffee connection, and I am so appreciative of that. So I want to do a big shout out for them. Next week, Coffee Connection is Aaron Pierce Aerospace. So remote ID, right? He's going to be here sharing about that. Also, we have, let me let a couple more people in. We have a Drone Pro webinar coming up that everybody can attend because it is via Zoom. And that is 10 tips from the San Diego Drone Pros. So that'll be a great one. I've already seen some of the stuff that are going to be discussed. And then one more thing coming up, man, it's action packed already for 2024, right? So Drone Zone Sanctuary is doing a meetup out at their place as well, and that's on January 20th. That's in Borrego Springs, if you're not familiar with that. And I'm going to put all this into our chat. And let me see. There it is. Woo, I got a lot. So I put my contact information in there. You could also reach out to um, Eric Hanscom about the Drone Zone Sanctuary. And I'm not hearing any doorbells. Sheila is not hearing any doorbells. Okay.
Help you. I'm sorry.
All right. I got Sheila on the ball here. She is now hearing the doorbell. We love to hear those doorbells. That just means that people are jumping in here to share. So at this point, I am looking at my screen and I do not see my spotlight speaker in here. He's trying to reboot. So at this point, Coffee Connection is about networking, right? So this is a great opportunity to network and have people share about what's happening. Like we just heard from Adrian, we can be spontaneous. It's okay while we're waiting for Dave to jump back in here. I know that's what you're here to hear, but we're having a little bit of technical difficulties getting Dave logged in. So Vic, I'm going to shout out to you. I'm sure you've got something new you could share with us.
Gosh. Yeah, thanks. Put me on the spot. Yeah, speaking of technical problems, I'm late because I couldn't get my freaking iPads to connect. Maybe it's something in the air. So I had to go old school with all my fun stuff here. Gosh, what's coming up? What can I talk about that's coming up? That's the question.
I know what you could talk about. I know something you
Waivers.
could talk about
What's
is
that?
your flight over the waiver.
Oh, ops over people waiver. Yeah, that's on, everything's on hold. Um, how can I explain this? There were some issues. I don't think the FAA quite understood how many people were going to apply when I put all that out there. And so they put some stuff on hold. They're trying to reevaluate some things. They're asking for some other things. I actually have a meeting with the waiver office and the FAST team coming up. For those of us who are drone pros at this point, the tentative thing is I'm going to be the featured speaker end of next month of the Drone Pro Quarterly training. So hopefully we'll have a little more on that. Have not heard back yet exactly if and when, well, not if, but when they're going to go ahead and start accepting those again. What the criteria is going to be. I also know that those have been accepted are probably going to have some changes. And I'm just guessing, this is total Vic here, not FAA. I think they're probably going to lower the maximum altitude. Some of the problems they had were, what's the kinetic energy of a drone falling 400 feet on top of somebody? It's like, well, we can't, we can't really determine that because there's so many factors involved, So I'll have a meeting with them soon. I hope. They just reached out to me about it yesterday, so we haven't had a chance to set things up, and we'll hopefully get stuff going a little better on that. And my next set of instructions will be easier. Not only for the pilots themselves, but also for the drone waiver team. The whole point was to make it easy for everybody, and I didn't make it very easy on the waiver team. So if you're listening and on the waiver team anonymously, sorry, that was not my intent. Is the Vegas video from your flight during Expo out there to watch? Is it?
Right.
Let me look. I mean, let me look. Let me look. I think I put it on Vimeo. Let me look, and I'll be back. How does that sound?
Perfect. So
okay, I'll be back. Oh, go ahead. What?
Just to let people know, not everybody was there for that wonderful epic flight in Vegas, and
very few were on purpose. I didn't tell anybody.
Well, hopefully he'll be able to share a link to it. And
Sure.
so we were able to go over, some of us were able to go over and do the night flight.
Oh, that was fun at the Sphere. Yeah.
At the Sphere. And then there was another flight that you did as well.
Oh, I thought that's what Sheila was talking about. I flew over the Bellagio
sure
Fountain, flew over the Strip, all fun stuff like that with the waiver.
The Sphere was really cool. But
the Sphere was cool. Yeah, the oh, what's it called when you have all wavy stuff in there? Come on, brain. Moray. The Moray was really bad. Yeah, the Moray was really bad in the Sphere. But yeah, let me see if I can find that stuff of me flying over the Bellagio. That was fun. And Bellagio was not happy about it, but they couldn't do anything about it. I told them beforehand. They said we don't have permission. It's like I don't need permission. So I said, come out, talk to me if you want. The cop showed up and sat there and watched us. It was kind of cool. So I'll be back. How's that sound? Let me see if I can find that link.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, all right. So we have Dave not working, it looks like still. So, I do have a solution, Dave, if you could throw into the chat if you can see the screen, because if you can, we can send me your video. I will play it and you narrate. See how spontaneous am I, right? So, but you need to give me a thumbs up on that if that's a good plan. You can see the screen. Awesome. All right, let's go with that. So if you want really quick, like Dave, if you want to email me your presentation, uh, I have the original one, but I don't know if you've made some changes. I think you were going to try to do some pictures, and then I can play that if you want to narrate, or maybe you can't even unmute. I don't know if you can even unmute at this point. Interesting. Can't even unmute. I'll be like, okay, we can do call in. That works too. See, we could be very flexible. Look at all these people are here to hear about how to build a drone. And Dave, we're counting on
Pivot.
you.
Yep. Gotta pivot.
Yep. But
I
that's
do not
good.
have that video uploaded. I guess I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Okay.
Sorry.
There you go. Yay. Definitely excited to see what comes out of CES this year. Yes. And so, Stephen, are you going to be at CES? That's going on this week, coming up, correct? And you can do a Zoom from your cell phone. Yeah. So, I think I just heard a doorbell. Like, you got it. Thank you. So, I will go really quick like and see if Dave is going to, no, not, unfortunately, it's this week. Okay. So I know, you know what, actually a lot of people are already talking about commercial UAV as well. And so I know that's going to be a great one. I know AUVSI is coming to San Diego. And so, and AUVSI is coming to San Diego. I think it's April 23rd through the 25th or 6th or something. And then the 27th is now the drone safety day, and that's the day. And so they're just a couple days apart. So I know there's a lot going on in trying to plan out something there. And so all kinds of great stuff happening. And with that, I am going to, how many members are going to AUVSI? I'd love to see you. Adrian, yes. Carolyn's got a link in there.
Yep, already made my
It is.
reservations.
Oh, wonderful. Hey, we need to do a meetup, I think. You're
Sounds good.
going to be in my territory now.
Hmm. Yep, I'm gonna apply for an authorization once I hopefully get the Mini 4 approved for my
Oh,
ops over people. We'll see.
really?
Yeah, I will be
Nice.
there as AUVSI Rocky Mountain.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome. So does anybody here have any idea about some of the curriculum or the workshops or anything that are maybe going to be going on? No, not yet. No word yet. Adrian, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dawn Zoldai is going to have her drone law tech connect. She normally has that every year, and then there'll be a full lineup. They'll be releasing that here shortly. As far as I'm sure there'll be opportunities to either get certificated or other co-located events as far as educational programs, and we're looking for a star-studded affair as far as education, exhibitors, etc. But I also wanted to give kudos to Vic and the DSPA. They've been crucial for me acquiring my ops over people, which is one of the holy grails beyond visual line of sight. So please, if you haven't already, support the DSPA. They're a phenomenal organization and really looking out for the benefit for drone operators and the industry in general. Thank you, Vic.
Well, thank you. Your check will be in the mail a little bit later, Adrian. It's McDonald's. Wait a minute, it's McDonald's card, right? Wasn't that what it was? McDonald's gift card? I can't remember now. And actually, it's not BB loss. You said BB loss. It's ops over people. But you may be foreshadowing things to come. I'll just leave it at that.
Wow. Oh, there was a little tidbit that we'd like to know about, right?
We'll see.
Okay. So see, this is where you get the inside information on so much stuff, right? Love it. All right. Okay. While I compartmentalize my brain, because I'm multitasking at this moment, does anybody else have any updates or anything interesting that they'd like to share? And then I did find the other FPV PowerPoint that Dave sent. And so if we can at least get him to log in via the phone, then we'll be able to roll with that. So anybody got anything great that they would like to share?
Nancy, do you want to talk about our meetup this last Saturday?
Oh, well, Carolyn, can you please do that for me? That would be great. Yes, my brown mix and mingle. I love it. Yay. Awesome. Yes, please share, because Carolyn came.
Yes, I did. So Desi is organizing a mix and mingle every first Saturday of the month in Lake Elsinore. And so any drone pilots can come in, and Desi made a presentation on business and all the things you need to think about when you want to open a business. And yeah, it's really awesome to be sharing also with other drone pilots, because the presentation might be 15 to 30 minutes, but we're there for 2 hours talking drones. And it was awesome. I think his name was Norm. Was it
Yes.
Norm?
Norm.
Who's 77 years old and started flying drones in 2017 and was in the army. And I mean, all the stuff he did in his life was amazing. So it was really nice for him to share that with us. And we were other people that already were there at the first one last month. So yeah, it was really nice to meet new people and also like see the sharing life experiences. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's kind of like what Adrian's doing, where you're networking in person, where you actually get to meet and greet people. And I love where it's located. Of course, I love Lake Elsinore, but we're bringing in people from San Diego, Riverside, all the different areas. And so it was just really exciting. And it was our second one.
Yes.
And so looking forward to doing it again. Look forward to finding topics that people want to hear about. And so great to network. Yes. So I did not see anything in here where Dave has logged in via his phone. Sheila, did he log in via his phone yet? Because he can't unmute. I've got the PowerPoint. And so, all right, events in Texas. We all should head to Texas if you don't head to San Diego.
No kidding.
Okay.
I don't have Dave. No, I don't see anything where he's trying to get in.
Okay, Dave.
Really.
Well, the really great thing is I'm going to see everybody here again when we get Dave in here. Right? We may have to reschedule, Dave. Let's have February meetup in Chicago. I'm thinking, Florida, Sharon, maybe can we do Florida? Florida's good.
No, Chicago's fine.
Oh, okay.
Might have to
Indoors.
wear a hat, gloves, and so forth. But what the
Yeah,
heck?
it's close for you. It was 9 degrees here this morning when I got up, so I can't complain too much.
See, Chicago's warmer than that. We got
Right.
snow outside, but still.
Oh, I got snow. I got snow last night. Got snow coming tomorrow. Oh yeah, we have snow.
See? So, now come on up, Adrian.
Okay, meet up there. Sharon, can't we go to like Miami? Yeah, it sounds so much nicer.
Chicago doesn't sound nice. You need to diversify your droning experience.
Oh, this is good. And you know, it is very
With multiple layers. That's
Yes.
key. Yes.
There's a few more people join us, so you might want to give them an update on Dave.
Okay, so let me let them in here and see if there's anybody I need to let in. And so yes, so first of all, I just want to thank everybody for attending today. And we are having some technical issues that we're working through as far as Dave, our wonderful spotlight speaker, and he's here to share, but we're not able to showcase what he's got because he can't unmute, and we also can't get his screen to be seen. So I do have a plan B if he can get logged in to share via the phone. We could do kind of a multitask thing because I do have his PowerPoint presentation that I could pop open. And so Dave, he has. Oh, he's saying that the meeting code doesn't exist. If there's a specific FPV question, he's happy to. Brian is here with us, and he would be happy to discuss any FPV question. Brian, hit the floor. I like it.
Oh, no
So-
pressure there. I was just coming to you know see what Dave had to say. But yeah, I am in the FPV hobby, and I know Adrian out here in Dallas. But yeah, if there are any specific questions, I can field them until we get Dave in here.
I like it. All right. So what I'm going to do also is, so first of all, Brian, while I'm sending Dave a new code, can you just share with us what is FPV for those that maybe aren't so familiar with the that end of the sport or recreational side of things?
Yeah. So typically with most drones, everybody thinks immediately the camera drones, right? Your DJI stuff. So you get something in your handheld, you got a screen in front of you, and you could use that screen to kind of navigate, and everything is kind of, for the most part, automated, right? You can kind of set the drone exactly where you want. You want to frame up your shot, or get your line ready for your video or whatever it might be. And then it doesn't take a whole lot of inputs in the controller in order to make something happen. As a matter of fact, a lot of the DJI drones and camera drones, you can just take your hands off the controller, and most of them will just hover exactly where they are, right? Because everything has GPS on them, and they're really good GPS, especially compared to history and everything that there is with the technology. So the drones today will lock on, they'll stay exactly where you leave them. They'll do the last thing that you did is what they will continue to do, which is usually hover, right? So that's kind of the standard camera drone that most people are familiar with. Now, as soon as you get into the FPV world, FPV stands for first person video. And what that means is, instead of looking at something line of sight or looking at a screen that you have in front of you, you're actually looking at a screen inside a set of goggles. So it basically puts you as the pilot directly into the place of the camera and the drone. Now, the things that there are pros and cons to everything, right? And the pros of this is Adrian, I don't know if you're talking to us, but I see you chatting. Sorry. Can everybody hear me all right? We'll start with
Yeah.
that. All right, good.
Yeah.
I should have started with that one. So here's the thing. There are pros and cons to everything, and it's a very different type of flying. One of the pros to this is when you are actually within the thing that's flying, there's a certain level of control that you have that you just can't get doing line of sight or even looking at a screen this way. So most FPV drones are built for higher speed and more maneuverability, especially when you start talking about custom built FPV drones like this, because even DJI does have the capability, and they do have a couple FPV drones that are available. But I believe that this topic was all about like custom built FPV drones. These things are not like your DJI drones. A custom built FPV drone is very agile, very fast. I think the thrust to rate ratio on some of these things are like 13 or 15 to 1, right? So when we crank the battery on these things, they will zoom, and they will zoom very fast, right? FAA says that we have a legal limit. We can't go over 99 miles per hour in the United States. They can, many of them can, and certainly there's a waiver process if you need to do that for a 107 job, for instance. So yeah, that's the general overview of the difference between like an FPV type system and a camera system. The building is very different, and the knowledge that you have to have in order to go through the build process for an FPV drone is also very different, because most people, when they buy a DJI drone, if something breaks on it, what do? You call DJI, right? You have that insurance, you pay the deductible, you send it back perhaps if you can't find parts, and then you wait, 1 week, 2 weeks, hopefully not more than that, and then you get a return from that, right? One of the other pros with building is if I break an arm on one of my drones that's sitting behind me, all around me here, is that's a $3 part, and I can change it in the field in about 3 minutes, right? So those are some of the pros behind it. Now we can talk about some of the cons behind FPV as compared to a video system or camera drone. Some of the cons are it is all manual. So with most FPV drones, and there are some exceptions to this that have GPS on them, but the GPS is not nearly as robust as like a camera drone. All the moves with an FPV drone you are making, you are in control the entire time. So it takes a lot more focus, and you can't be distracted. There isn't really a button that you can hit and it will hover and you can take the goggles off and you can have a conversation with somebody. Those sorts of things don't really exist for the FPV self-built drone community. One of the other concerns is you have to have goggles on your face. So that brings up a whole other discussion about some regulations with the FAA. One of the best known ones is that you have to have line of sight with your drone at all times, or you have to have a visual observer with you. So that's one of the things that, like, our groups here, anytime that we go out and fly, you have to fly with somebody to stay legal, and that person has to keep line of sight with your drone at all times, because goggles break your line of sight. So that's another concern. One of the technological issues and technological things that we haven't really overcome yet is the idea of battery and battery life. People are shocked when I tell them that my batteries only last for about 2.5 to 3 minutes with my drones. Now, there are some battery technologies that you can get a little bit longer from that, but for most self-built kind of FPV quads, you're looking at a very short amount of time off of a LiPo battery. If you use a lithium ion battery, you can get much longer lifespans. I have a couple that will fly up to 25, maybe even 30 minutes. So that's getting closer or matching what some of the camera drones are out there, but you don't get the sort of power that you would get with a LiPo battery. So those are a couple of the cons that come into play when you start talking about building.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brian, thank you so much.
We got Dave now.
We have Dave. You've done a fantastic job. You be careful, because now I'm going to see if you can come back.
Happy
Right?
to.
Desi,
All right.
Desi, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, thank goodness. Hey, Brian, thanks so much for jumping in.
Yes,
Much
yes.
appreciated. Desi, if you
Yay.
could, if you can show the slides, that would be wonderful. And the slides that that I sent you will be fine. And the only thing I changed was the addition of a bunch of photographs.
Okay, let me grab that and I will open that up for us. It's probably gonna be small, but let's see what I can do to make it even bigger for us.
Yeah, just you can push the column over on the left way small, and just that'll bring it up, and then do a fit to the full screen. It should get pretty big.
Right now it's just right on my, is that big enough for everybody? Yes, I'm seeing yes. All right, this
Hey,
is
I'm
right.
seeing 1.5 slides at this point. Can you adjust it so that it's one slide at a time? if you just kick the or not. I can
There's
work
my
with
email.
this. We've been so
I
challenged, technically
know.
challenged today. Okay.
All
Yeah.
right, let me stop share. Let me go find it again.
So is this the point where I tell everybody that Dave actually his corporate life was in high tech and he can't get his computer to work? Sorry, I had to. I'm sorry, Dave. I had to.
It's okay, Vic. Payback is a bitch.
It is, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let me drop this down. Hold on, because I have a lot of screens going, so I have to come up with the right screen.
Yeah. We don't need to read your email.
I know.
Okay, so the first screen is quickly at background. So I've recently been appointed the interim CEO of Flight Test, a hobby company of 13 years. They have 2.1 million YouTube video subscribers. They've changed the demographics of radio control model airplanes in the United States. They are predominantly focused with fixed wing radio control. In addition, for the last 5 years, I've been leading the FPV Freedom Coalition. We are predominantly that's perfect, Desi. We've been predominantly a government affairs association. I have been an active participant in 12 AC and DAC taskings. I'm on the ASTM working group, remote ID working group as a member with the chair, Gabriel Cox. So a very small part of 138 companies representing in that. That's the organization that creates the means of compliance for the remote ID that every manufacturer has to comply with to get their own declaration of compliance. And we've started up a drone advisory council meeting along with John Hugrains, and Vic is working on that as well. As background, I'm a mechanical engineer. As Vic said, I did retire from IBM after 38 years as a senior manager with experience in hardware, software services, development, marketing, sales strategy, and 8 years in mergers and acquisitions. Okay, next slide, please. Very quickly, this is what I was going to try to go over. I'll be cognizant of the time. If we could flip to the next slide. So I tried to, for this group, to think about what are the segments that we're interested in, and where do we find first person view, in as much as I think the audience, and please interrupt with any questions or comments, with the exception of Vic, but everyone else, please ask questions.
I don't hear you talking anymore. What happened?
That's way beyond what. Oh, can you hear me now?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Oh, had me going. Just do that once or twice through this, and the blood pressure will be nice and high. The acceleration is absolutely amazing. It's 0 to 60 in approximately a second for a lot of the drones that we're talking about. And let's see. Yep. So this is a racing drone. It is very, very light with big motors, and the motors are of the power that they can remove a finger. But that's some of the racing drones. The segments in FPV are racing, freestyle, cinema, cinewhoop, and videography. So cinewhoop is coming on as a more popular subcategory, and it is using a more cinematographic specific capability, but still going very quick. So if you watch full production movies, you see some of the racers are being hired in, and they're flying just amazing chase videos, etc. The classes of the various drones are Whoop, which are these little tiny guys. They're just about this big. They have, I think, 20. And we classify the diameter of the propeller of the individual quadcopter as the size of the prop. minis. This is called a tiny trainer, and it has, I think, a 2.5-inch diameter propeller. This is from 533. It is creating a racing spec, which if you're a car person and you remember spec racing in cars, they picked up the same thing. So the idea is to set the specifications similar so that you're just testing each other or racing against each other with the skill of the individual, not of the drone and how much money you've spent. This is an F.
I have a
Say
quick
again?
question. I have a quick question.
Great.
Can anybody see Dave? Or can everybody see Dave, or is it only the screen? We can see Dave too. Okay, good. Okay, good. Keep
Thank you.
showing it.
Thank
We
you.
like it. We like it.
This is a, I'm trying to get it in front of the camera. I guess this, this is a reverse dexterity test. This is what's called a freestyle drone. It is used to fly great aerobatics and also carry along a GoPro and get pretty images. This is a Street League drone. It is 7-inch diameter propellers. It has a minimum mass of 2.78 kilograms. So this thing is heavy. And the idea is slow it down a little, make it bigger, put LEDs on it so you can see it. This is a 7-inch freestyle that can fly for 15, 20 minutes and carry along a GoPro easily. Several of these frames are designed by Chris Rosser, a fellow in the UK.
Did we just lose him? Well, we did have some questions in the chat.
Oh, there he is. There he is. There he is.
Oh, he's
There he
back.
is.
He's back. Okay. Okay.
He's not unmuted, but I do see him.
Okay. Okay. We got you. We got you. All right. We need you to unmute, Dave, because we lost you for a sec. And then Sheila, a couple questions might have popped up in the chat. With my screen open, I can't see the chat.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
There are no
Why don't you
questions.
flip to the next slide, please? And if there are questions, just interrupt. Okay, so the idea here is, again, I'm trying to put forward the idea of, well, why is this useful? Who can use this, and what are people learning when they get into this? And so most, if you look at over on the right, most do-it-yourself first-person view operators have most of these skills or knowledge, and they can learn it from friends. So you get a basic mechanics understanding, you get electronics repair, you learn that, and you have a basic computer operations and logic. So problem determination and isolation, configuring. You don't have to do coding. And so one says, "Oh, I program my drone." No, they're really bringing up a panel and programming it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. As you really get into this, if you're a complete geek like me, you start to learn more about aerodynamics, you get into radio frequency propagation, you get your general class ham license like I did, and you get into physics, like what's the resonant frequency understanding, what's the modal analysis, what are things like notch filters, etc. So you can go off the deep end, but there's really not a need to get to be too technical to start out. Okay, next slide. This is under the covers. What does it look like when we put one of these together? Okay, Desi, can you hear me? Are you? Thank you. That's it. Thank you. I was pretty sure you were in flight changing it. So these are the various components that we have to assemble in a DIY. Learning soldering. If interested in okay. So there's the flight controller, which is the brain of the drone. There is a video transmitter, which is transmitting the signal from the camera back to the operator or pilot's cameras. There's the camera, which makes sense. That's on board, and it's usually fixed. It's not moving around in the direction of your head, though we can do that. And there are head tracking capabilities in our goggles, and some setups do that. There is a receiver. It's a bit of a misnomer. It's really a transceiver, since there's two-way communication. And this is the C2, or command and control capability. So with most DIY drones, there are two separate circuits going back and forth from the operator to the drone. One's the video signal, the other is the command and control. In DJI FPV drones, they are integrated in a single proprietary digital signal back and forth. The electronic speed controllers. So this is a direct current. There's a battery that's going from 3S to 6S. So that's in this one. No, so we fly anywhere from 1S to 6S. So that is 3.7 volts per cell. So up over 20 some odd volts. Some of the bigger drones are pulling amperages way north of 100 amps. So there's a lot of power going into these. Our speed controllers, this shows 4 individual speed controllers, and we do a 4-in-1 now as most popular. So it's just there regularly are LEDs. There's a buzzer. It's more there's a GPS sometimes, and or you can put a remote ID broadcast module on, which I had a slide in the other presentation. I worked on one remote ID module with flight test, and also an FPV FC. 2 guys built one out of Phoenix called the MRID. So I know more about remote ID than I care to admit, but that's the under the covers. Could we please move to the next slide? On the software side of things, there are about 5 part-time individuals who are the coders under Betaflight. There are millions of people worldwide who use Betaflight. So it's the software that's running in the flight controller, and it is the command and control, the tuning, as well as the software that's driving the motors and complete control, as well as Brian mentioned when we'll a ton of information that we can mount, we'll put up in the goggles as we're flying. How much, where are we going? What are the lat lon in GPS coordinates? What's the batteries that we've got left? How far are we away from home? Lots of information that we can put up if we want to. So that that capability is all managed by the controller, being the traffic controller of information out from the camera through the flight controller back out through the transceiver back to the pilot. Analogous to Betaflight is ArduPilot. Wonderful piece of code. As they say, they support everything from submarines to satellites, and that's absolutely the truth. They have 50 full-time developers and a and then what I did not include is that, of course, there's a DJI analog to this, which is completely proprietary code. So these codes are, with the exception of Pix4D, all open source. We also do, so coming from IBM, flashing or updating firmware is something that we don't recommend customers do regularly or lightly. We flash the firmware of every component on the in FPV. We flash and update the firmware for Betaflight. We flash and update the ESC firmware all the time to tune it and train it. And we update the transmitter firmware, which is both the operating system of the transmitter as well as the RF part of it, the radio frequency element. The popular open source components are EdgeTX and Express LRS, respectively. And finally, the VTX. There are 2 basic classes in DIY drones. One is analog, the other digital. Is HD0, DJI, Walk Snail, and are many other analog variants. Okay, next slide, please. So some of it, when I chat with people who are coming from DJI, it's like, I just use it. Why would you ever bother fooling with the software? So drones and FPV is a nascent technology. So a lot of what we're flying are prototype levels all the time. The hardware is changing, the software is changing very quickly. That's why I would want to keep it updated and update the software running it. What can we do to tune it? We can make it smoother, we can make it faster, we can change the acceleration, and as code advances, the reliability from 2016 when I started in this to today, it's gotten a lot better, a lot more reliable. And so we tune by changing the PID, proportional, integral, and derivative, again for the mathematically inclined among us. We change the motor response to physics as well as RF interference. And it's also, we can tune to see what we are seeing literally, what we see on the screen. And we also can change the video channels. We change the power output. These are all things that are done visually. Okay, so from there, I had a number of photos. So that was the basis of the presentation. In here, as a bit of humor, I included a photograph of a 1984 BMW R65 LS that I modified the harness. Why did I do that? Because the exact same skills that we're gaining in FPV, problem determination and isolation, digital or direct current, as well as little alternating current theory, allow you to diagnose and fix a wiring harness on a motorcycle, and those are skills that are learned in doing things like wiring up a racing drone. So there's alternating current theory here because the motors are alternating current motors. Questions?
Let me unmute. And so
I thought you're gonna tell me that you couldn't hear me for the last 5 minutes.
oh, thank you so much. This is awesome. I'm so
Brian, a different view from where you were coming from. Really appreciate that you focused in on the mechanics, the hardware, what we see, what we do with FPV. Anything that, as I was talking, that I missed, you're like, oh no, you forgot about, or how about any of those notions?
So there was a question in the chat about remote ID considerations. So maybe you could dig into a little bit about that and kind of what Flight Test has done. And then while you do that, I'll show off the nice Flight Test remote ID on the back of mine. How about that?
Thanks so much. So it took us about a.
Let me see that.
It weighs 10 grams. And it's the external dimensions are 34 by 34 by 8 millimeters. It draws 100 milliamps of power. And so it operates from 1S to 8S power. It's developed by Tritium, which is a company in Ohio. It has a Flight Test logo on it. And I was effectively the product manager as well as the requirements by sitting on the ASTM working group for remote ID. I had a good understanding of remote ID requirements. There are two major documents, each about 200 to 300 pages each, that define the specifications as well as the required testing for remote ID. So a manufacturer has to build their remote ID module. It's a broadcast only, it's not network connected, and it tells anyone who wants to know within a small radius, here's my remote ID ID, here's the location I am, as session information, and that's about it. So it tells the law enforcement or the FAA when they look up your serial number, match it to your name, and that's how they can capture who the individual is. Part of the challenges that as I move to the difference between broadcast modules and standard remote ID. Standard remote ID has two technical differences. The first is when I power up, if the standard remote ID subsystem fails, so it fails a post or power on self-test, it has to prevent the aircraft from flying. The second is it keeps a dynamic tally and broadcasts the location of the GCS, ground control station, or the pilot. That we really don't like. And Vic has been a great advocate for pressing the FAA on this is dangerous because we've had assaults over the last couple of years. People get upset. Now they can electronically locate the pilot. So not a good situation, but the FAA tells us, no, this is required from DHS. So we're living with that. So we're also part of the Drone Advisory Council that I described. This is one of the things that we're working up and coming up with some recommendations for the FAA, and we'll push the topic again. So circling back to standard remote ID, you can use a broadcast, or pardon me, the broadcast modules. You can use the module as Brian was showing, that little module, if you're flying recreationally. If you purchased a drone prior, or an RC aircraft prior to September 16, 2022, you can add that module on, retrofit it, and you're compliant. Subsequent to that date, if a manufacturer produced that drone, they have to produce the drone rated with remote ID. That's called standard remote ID, and it has to have the additional capabilities that I described. The dynamic location of the operator, as well as the turns off the propulsion systems if the remote ID fails. So we've got the I mentioned there are two guys in FPVFC members. They didn't know each other. They met each other. They created a module. They're selling it for, I think, $69, $70. The flight test module is $99. And one of the things that we do is we're trying to add value and get, I always try to see the little pony hopping around in the barn of manure. So what we're trying to do in this situation is, well, in FPV, a lot of us don't put GPSs on our drones. So now with the requirement of a remote ID module has to have a GPS. So we're pulling the GPS signal out and sending that over to the flight controller so we can do things like return to home, as well as tracking our flight path. So we can, and we've got a flight test app that you can download that and see what your flight path was, as well as log your flights.
Wow.
Other questions?
Wow. Well, yes, actually, the chat seems to be blowing up with questions right now. Vic did put a link in there also. Excuse me. If you want to fly FPV under 107 without a VO, he's got a link in there. So thank you for putting that in there, Vic.
Yeah.
And then,
Thank you, Vic. Yeah, you're the man on these. These are non-trivial. Thank you for the work, Vic. That's really great.
Let's see. Is it for one event or any time for your drone you own? Oh, so that would be referring, I believe, back up to that waiver. And so I think there he goes. Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is that was kind of Kenji's and my first attempt at a waiver that would make a difference in the community. It's kind of restricting in that you have 1,000-foot distance. I think it's a 50-foot above, or maybe 100-foot above. So there are some restrictions on there, but no, mine's good anywhere pretty much. I think there is some controlled airspace. Like, I haven't used it in a while. Well, actually, I haven't used it in a while, but I haven't looked at it in a while. That's probably shouldn't put that out there in the public. But there are some restrictions on it, but it's the crawl, walk, run system of the FAA. I think we're crawling quickly when it comes to that kind of stuff. And you do not have to file a NOTAM, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it's there. And you can fly FPV without a VO if you're under 107. If you can fly under those restrictions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
from a common sense perspective, it makes us crazy that you need a VO because the the amount of situational awareness that you have with a fast FPV drone is dramatically better than any manned aircraft that we're aware of. You know, when we measure yaw rotations in full rotations per second, you know, I can see behind me in a fraction of a second. So, but the FPV in listening to any of this.
Um,
Any
er,
other additional questions? Does he?
yes, we do, and I think there was some link put in there by Brian as well. If anyone's interested in nearby details, there's a great book on it, and he put a link in there for that. Thank you. Brian has been fantastic. Thank you. Big shout out to him today, right? And then hope the link is okay. I did see Johnny jump in here. He came a little bit late, and I had a feeling he would be all over this presentation. And so he said there's a new generation of FPV coming with 8 second and 10-second batteries coming. Wait, 8S. Oh, sorry. 8S and 10S. Or yeah, not second, sorry. So he's pretty excited about that. And then we have more conversation about the 10S.
We use, yeah.
So more on that. And then International Women's Racing Team. Sheila has put in a link for that. Wow. Yes, forgot about the 12S.
Yeah, our traditional numbers in FPV are all pretty close to airlines, which means about 3% women and girls. And so one of the STEM and to encourage newcomers, and we try to be as inclusive as possible. Anything we can do to get girls and young women interested and excited with drone racing, drone FPV, whatever we can, we are all about that. And I think of my my good friend up in Minnesota. So you don't think women should be good pilots? Well, they have better ability to stay concentrated than a man, and you need a soft touch on those sticks, and women have a better touch. So, problem with women in cockpit, and it's a wonderful thing when we do Flight Fest. We've got about 1,000 pilots in Ohio, flying mostly RC airplanes, but also more and more drones, thanks to my team at FPVFC, and to see you know, girls and boys getting out there and having a ball. It's just great, and that's what we're trying to encourage with our STEM program, which is focused on K through about 8, because there are a bunch of programs that are 8 through or 9 in high school focused. The AOPA is one notable capability. That's just a fantastic STEM program. There's not focused on with Flight Test. So pardon for the shameless plugs, but we're pretty passionate about it.
That's okay. So are we. So glad to hear it. And we love that passion. We want to see it. So awesome. But I just want to let everybody know there's a lot more going on in the chat right now, but it is straight up 10 o'clock. So if you needed to jump off, I totally understand. I do recommend that you save the chat because there's a lot of great information that was put in there. If you're not familiar with how to do that, at the very bottom of your screen, you'll have those 3 dots, and the 3 dots will give you an opportunity to say more, and then you can save the chat. That way you'll have all those great links. So I'm going to just wrap this up by just saying once again, Dave and Brian, thank you very much. This has been fantastic. And I think we rolled with all the technical side of things quite well. So thank you very much, Dave. You're just a wealth of knowledge, and we're just so glad that you were able to come and share with us today. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week, and have fun. Be safe, but get out and fly Have a good time.
That kind of wraps it up.